Let's be real. His kids make us look better, my mom said. Taking my brother's kids to Disneyland instead of mine. I paid for everything. I let them smile for the camera, but when they came back, the magic was gone. Let's be real. His kids make us look better, my mom said, flipping through photos of the Disneyland trip I paid for. She said it so casually, like it was some kind of marketing decision. Like my daughter Tessa wasn't sitting right there beside me watching every single picture roll past on Grandma's screen without a single one of her in it. They're just more photogenic, she added with a smile, sipping her tea, and they behave better in public. You know how Tessa gets. I looked down at Tessa, still holding the sparkly Minnie Mouse backpack she picked out 6 months ago when we were supposed to go together. Her smile was gone, replaced with that quiet kind of confusion that only kids feel when they know something's wrong, but can't figure out why. I thought we were all going, Tessa whispered, her voice barely a breath. I didn't answer because I thought so too. 3 months ago, my mom called and said she wanted to do something special for the grandkids. I had just gotten my holiday bonus, and when she asked if I could help cover the costs, I said yes. Of course I did. I transferred the money the same night. Tickets, hotel, everything. She told me she was going to surprise the kids together, but 2 weeks later, she said there weren't enough rooms. Next time, she promised. I believed her. I even told Tessa it was okay, that we'd go later, that maybe Grandma just needed some time with the other grandkids first. But I didn't know they were going without her until I saw the first photo online. There they were, my brother's kids, Landon and Mia, in front of Sleeping Beauty's castle. My dad in Mickey ears, my mom holding a churro bigger than her face. Caption, Family Magic. I stared at the screen for a full minute before I realized what I was seeing. I thought maybe they'd Photoshopped the pictures. Maybe they were just stock images, but no. They really went without Tessa, without me, and I had paid for it all. You know, Landon and Mia are just easier, my mom said, setting her phone down. They don't whine. They don't overreact. Tessa blinked fast, looking up at me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the mug across the room like every part of me wanted to. I just stood there numb. Because when you've given everything, your money, your time, your trust, and they still choose someone else, that's when the magic dies. And when they came back, they brought souvenirs, but they left the damage behind. I wish I could say that was the first time they treated my daughter like she was invisible. It wasn't. It started years ago, subtle at first. Birthday cards that got lost in the mail. Christmas presents that were accidentally left behind. My brother's kids, Landon and Mia, got bikes and tablets. Tessa got a $10 gift card and a plastic bracelet from the dollar store. She's not as close to us, my mom once said. You live farther. It's hard to feel a bond. We live 30 minutes away. I should have known better. But like a fool, I kept giving, kept showing up, kept paying. When my brother lost his job, guess who covered his mortgage for 6 months? When Mia needed braces, guess who offered to help with the deposit? Because insurance is so tricky these days. In Disneyland, that wasn't even the beginning. That was just the moment they stopped pretending. I didn't grow up with money. I worked myself to the bone for what I have now. 2 jobs, no vacations, saving every cent. I built a life for Tessa and me from scratch after her mom walked out, and I swore she'd never feel like she was missing anything. But somehow around my family, she was always the one left out, and I was always the one expected to pick up the tab. You're doing well, my mom would say. Like, that made it okay. You can afford it, my brother chimed in. It's not like you've got a wife to spend it on. That part stung more than I ever admit. The truth was I could barely afford it. But every time I sent money, every time I said yes to another favor, another excuse, another we just need a little help, I chipped away at what little piece I had. My mother had perfected the guilt trip. We're not getting any younger. We just want the kids to have memories. You wouldn't let your niece and nephew miss out, would you? But it was never about them. It was about appearances, image, control. My brother Darren played his role perfectly. Lazy but charming, always broke, always trying. He could show up to family dinners in designer sneakers, then turn to me after dessert and say, "Think you can cover the electric bill this month? Things are tight." And I always said yes, because if I didn't, then I was the selfish one. You're not a team player. You only think about yourself. Family comes first. Unless we were talking about my daughter, then family forgot how to spell her name. The week before the Disneyland trip, I noticed something odd. Tessa had drawn a picture for Grandma, her and her cousins riding roller coasters holding hands. She folded it carefully and asked me to mail it. I did. It never made it to the fridge. When I asked my mom about it later, she said, "Oh, that thing. I think I tossed it. I didn't know what it was." She tossed it. Tessa's face didn't move, but that night I found the same picture redrawn and taped to her bedroom wall. "I'll keep it," she said quietly, since Grandma didn't want it. I should have burned the whole fridge down. But the real slap came a week after the trip when I was still trying to act normal, still pretending maybe there had been a misunderstanding. We were at Sunday dinner. I brought Tessa, thinking maybe, just maybe, we could talk. Maybe my mom would explain. Maybe she'd even apologize. Instead, she looked at Tessa, then turned to my brother and said, "She's looking thin. You should see how healthy Mia looked in those Disneyland photos. The camera loved her." Then she laughed right in front of us. Tessa didn't say a word. She just picked at her food. I clenched my jaw so hard my temples ached. And Darren, he added, "Well, Mia does have that glow." "Good genes," he winked like it was some private joke. That was the moment something in me snapped. Not loudly, not visibly, But deep inside, something shifted. A slow, cold kind of fury. The kind that waits. They thought I wouldn't fight back. That I would do what I always did. Swallow the insult, write the check, and nod along. But this time was going to be different. It happened over meatloaf. A Sunday dinner like any other, the last I would ever attend. Tessa and I had barely walked in when I knew something was off. My mother gave us a cold nod. My father didn't even look up from the TV, and Darren was already 3 bites into his plate, laughing about some inside joke with my mom. No one greeted Tessa. No one even pulled out a chair for her. I did it myself. We sat. We ate in silence while they talked around us. They didn't ask about school. They didn't ask about me. They didn't ask anything. And then my mother smiled sweetly across the table and said it. You know, I still can't get over how well Darren's kids handle Disneyland. They just shine in crowds. Tessa gets so overstimulated. I put my fork down slowly and looked at her. What did you just say? My mom blinked like I'd broken some unspoken rule. I'm just saying she's sensitive. Some kids just aren't made for big events. It would have been too much for her anyway. That trip wasn't for everyone. Tessa stared down at her plate. Her knuckles were wide around her fork. Darren chuckled. Well, it's not like she missed much. We had a blast without all that extra noise. That was it. That was the moment. I stood up so fast my chair screeched back and hit the wall. Tessa flinched. My voice was low, but it cut like a blade. You think this is funny? Darren raised an eyebrow. Relax, man. We're just saying. No, you're not just saying anything. You're laughing at my kid. You're making fun of a child who was promised a trip, a child whose drawing you thrown in the trash. My mom opened her mouth. I didn't throw. Don't lie to me, I snapped. She saw the trash. She saw her own picture crumpled up. You didn't even have the decency to pretend to care. Lower your voice, my dad muttered. No, I said, stepping back from the table. No more quiet, no more nodding, no more smiling while you got me in front of my own daughter. You're overreacting, Darren said, rolling his eyes. Seriously, it was my kid's trip. You didn't even go. Oh, I didn't go? I said, laughing. Actually laughing this time. You mean I didn't go on the trip I paid for? The one you took your kids on while mine stayed home with a backpack and a dream? Yeah, that one. My mom crossed her arms. It was our idea. You offered to help, and your niece and nephew needed it more. Next time, she said. I turned to her slowly. They needed it more. I repeated, stunned. They're just easier to love, she said, like that made sense. The room went silent. Even Darren's smirk faded. Tessa dropped her fork. I looked down at her. Her eyes were wide wet, and something inside me exploded. You know what? I said, voice shaking from rage. I'm done. I'm done pretending this is a family. I'm done pretending your favoritism is anything less than abuse. I'm done paying for your smiles and getting spit in return. You're being dramatic, Darren said. I walked around the table slowly until I was standing behind him. I paid for your mortgage, your vacation, your car battery last winter. You haven't thanked me once. He stood, puffing up his chest. No one asked you to play the hero. You chose that. You're right, I said, and I chose wrong. I turned to my mom. You always told me family helps family. So where were you when I was raising Tessa alone? When I was skipping meals so she could have school shoes? Where were you? We offered, she said, defensive. Now you never accepted. You offered nothing but judgment and silence. My father finally stood. This is ridiculous. We're trying to have a nice meal. You had your meal, I snapped. You had your photo op. You had your fake Disneyland fairy tale. I looked around the table one last time, and now it's over. I took Tessa's hand. We're leaving. Darren laughed under his breath. Oh, please, you'll be back. You always come back. I turned to him. Not this time. I reached into my jacket, pulled out a folder, and dropped it on the table. My mom flinched when it hit. What's that? She asked. Receipts, I said. Every dollar I've ever paid for this family. Every bill I've covered. Every favor I've done. A copy is going to my lawyer on Monday, just in case you ever come looking again. Darren stepped forward. You're threatening us now. No, I said. I'm protecting my daughter. I looked at my mother one last time, and if you ever tell her she's not enough again, I leaned in low, close enough for her to hear my breath. I won't let you hurt her again. Ever. And then I walked out with my daughter, with my pride, with nothing left to give, and no intention of ever coming back. The silence that followed was almost louder than the shouting. For 2 whole days, my phone stayed dead. No calls, no texts, no guilt-tripping voicemails. Just silence. And honestly, it felt like air after drowning. I took Tessa out for ice cream that night. We sat on a bench in the park, the early spring wind tugging at her ponytail as she carefully picked the sprinkles off her cone one by one. Are we ever going back? She asked. I looked at her, the freckles across her nose, the little scar on her chin from falling off her scooter. The strongest heart I'd ever known, sitting there, asking if she had to be around people who made her feel like she was second best. No, I said, we're not. And I meant it. For the first time in my life, I didn't care what it would cost me. Of course, they couldn't stay quiet for long. By day 3, the flood began. First, it was my dad. A text short and cold. We need to talk. Come to dinner. I didn't answer. Then came the call from my mom. Her voice all fake sugar with a rotten center. You overreacted. That dinner was supposed to bring us closer. You embarrassed everyone. I hung up. She called again and again. By the 5th time, she left a voicemail. Her tone suddenly wounded. I didn't mean what I said about Tessa. I was just tired. You know how I get when I'm tired. But you walking out like that after everything we've done for you, everything you've done for me. I almost laughed out loud. The manipulation was so familiar. It was pathetic. like watching a magician repeat a trick long after the crowd's gone home. Next came Darren. A text. No greeting. So this is it. You ghost your own family over a tantrum. Grow up. Then another. Mom cried all day. Hope you're happy. And then we were counting on you for the June trip. The kids don't understand why Uncle Matt disappeared. That one I responded to. Good. Let them feel it. A week passed. Then 2. Every day I woke up expecting that old knot in my chest, that guilt, that pressure to fix it all. But it never came. Instead, I felt peace. Tessa smiled more. She asked more questions. She slept through the night without waking up from those weird, anxious dreams. She didn't ask about her cousins anymore. One evening, she asked if we could go to the bookstore. I said yes. We left with 5 books, hot chocolate, and a new notebook she picked for writing spells. We were creating new memories. Our memories not bought, not forced, not filtered through the lens of people who only smiled when it served them. But as always, peace has a price. Mid-April, my mother showed up at my job. She was standing in the lobby when I came out for lunch, hair perfectly done, purse clutched like a Bible. Her eyes were red, but not from crying, from fury. I need 5 minutes, she said through her teeth. No, I replied, stepping around her. She grabbed my arm. I stopped. Do you understand what you're doing to this family? She hissed. You're tearing everything apart? Over what? A trip to Disneyland? I turned to her slowly. No, I said. Over a lifetime of being treated like a wallet with legs. Over you making my child feel invisible. Over being told to my face that your precious golden boy's kids look better than mine. People were starting to stare. My mom's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. You're making a scene. I leaned in. You haven't even seen a scene, but keep pushing and I'll give you one that'll make Christmas dinner look like a prayer circle. She pulled back like I'd slapped her. I raised you better than this, she said quietly. No, I said. You didn't raise me at all. You raised Aaron. I survived. And with that, I walked away. A few days later, I got an email from a joint account, my parents and Darren. Subject line, family discussion. Inside was a PDF, a spreadsheet. They actually itemized every expense I'd helped with, called it joint support contributions. At the bottom, a note. We believe it's time to recalibrate expectations. We propose a monthly structure of assistance so everyone is clear moving forward. I stared at the screen for a full 5 minutes, stunned. They weren't apologizing. They were trying to invoice me like I was a customer, or worse, an employee behind on performance. I replied with a single line. My only contribution now is distance. Invoice that. And I blocked every number, every email, every notification I could. 1 week later, I woke up to an envelope in my mailbox. No name, just my address. Inside, photos, prints of the Disneyland trip. One of Darren and his kids holding Mickey-shaped balloons. One of my mother with her arms around Mia. One of the entire family, my family, standing in front of the castle with a blank space right where Tessa and I would have been. On the back in my mom's handwriting, one line. This could have been us. I took a lighter from the drawer, walked outside, and burned every single one. Tessa watched from the window, and I swear to God, she smiled. A month later, I got the last message. It came from my brother's wife, Natalie, the one who never spoke, never caused trouble, never looked me in the eye unless she had to. It was a picture of Mia and Landon standing in front of a cake. Homemade sloppy frosting, no decorations. The caption just said, "It's not the same without you." I stared at it for a moment, then deleted it. They finally felt it. The hole I left, the weight I carried for them for years, had finally landed in their hands. And it was heavy. Funny thing about silence, it's addictive once you taste it. No forced dinners, no cold glances across the table. No more being expected to show up with a smile and a credit card. My weekends belong to me and Tessa now. And slowly, quietly, we started building something new. No Disneyland. But last Saturday, we went to the lake, just the two of us. She brought a book. I brought sandwiches. She read aloud for an hour while ducks fought over crumbs. At one point, she looked up and said, "This is better than any castle." I didn't answer. I couldn't. My throat was too tight. Because for the first time, I realized she wasn't saying it to make me feel better. She meant it. She didn't need a mouse in a costume or fake fireworks. She just needed a dad who saw her. And now she had him. Do I regret what I did? No, not for a second. Let them call me cold. Let them say I walked away. They should be grateful I didn't walk away sooner. I think back sometimes to all those years I paid and paid, hoping one day they'd say thank you, hoping they'd finally treat Tessa like she mattered, hoping that love could be bought if I just tried hard enough. But here's the truth. You can't pay your way into a place you were never welcome. They didn't want me. They wanted what I could give them. And when I stopped giving, the illusion crumbled. Sometimes late at night, I still get texts from fake numbers, blocked accounts. Your father's health isn't great. Mia cried again. You're destroying this family. I don't even flinch anymore. They're like mosquitoes on a windshield. Harmless, annoying, forgettable. Because I know what this really is. It's not guilt. It's not family. It's panic. They finally realize the ATM is closed, and they're scrambling, desperate to find a replacement. But there isn't one, because I was the last fool willing to sacrifice everything for them. And now I'm done giving too much. Last week, Tessa came home from school holding a crumpled piece of paper, a class project. Draw your family. She handed it to me with a shy grin. There was me and her and a big blue tent under a tree. She'd drawn a campfire, marshmallows, a book, and she'd written underneath it in crooked, uneven letters, "Me and Dad, this is my safe place." I stared at that piece of paper for a long, long time, and I knew deep in my bones I did the right thing. I chose her, not my mother, not my brother, not the fake smiles or the staged family photos. I chose the only person who ever saw me for who I am and loved me anyway. I framed that drawing, hung it on the wall, right where the family photo used to be. Because that one was real. Let them keep Disneyland. We've got something better, peace, freedom, and each other, and this time, no one's ever taking it away from us again. Update, replying to Reddit after the fallout. Hey Reddit, I didn't expect my post to go viral. I wrote it to vent, but you gave me something I didn't know I needed. Clarity, validation, and a reminder that I wasn't alone. To everyone who sent kind messages, thank you. Tessa read some of your comments. She smiled. That meant everything. Here's my reply to a few things people brought up. You were too harsh, maybe, but I wasn't loud for no reason. I was quiet for years, paying, enduring, hoping they'd see my daughter. They didn't. Sometimes silence becomes a cage. I broke it. It's still your family. It was. But they treated me like an ATM and my daughter like a footnote. Blood doesn't excuse cruelty. Respect does. They lost both. You could have handled it better. Sure, but they crossed every line first. I didn't explode over one comment. I erupted after a decade of being used. I chose boundaries. I chose my daughter. To everyone who related, you're not selfish for walking away. You're not wrong for protecting your peace. You're not a wallet with feelings. You're a person, and you're allowed to stop giving yourself away for people who never noticed you were hurting. Tessa and I were good, really good. She drew a picture of us in a tent under a tree. Wrote underneath, "This is my safe place, and that's the only family photo I'll ever need again." Matt.